Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And today, as usual, we have a wonderful guest. We're going to be talking about the divine today. We're going to be talking about God and our relationship with God. And I think this is going to be a really wonderful show. And I want you guys to share this because this is the perfect time that if you're not connected with the divine, it's a good time to get connected. And so Colette Lafia is here today. Her book is called The Divine Heart. And if you're watching me on YouTube today, I'm holding it up. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So this is going to be a really interesting conversation. Now, before I bring her on, just a couple things that I picked up from Humanity. I'm sorry, some of these things you may think are a little off the wall, but so do I. So this first thing that I picked up, and this is for all you COVID fans out there. Washington State kicks off joints for jab to promote COVID-19. I mean, they really have gone to extreme here. Adults can claim a complimentary joint of marijuana in Washington State this week when they receive a COVID-19 vaccine shot. The Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board announced Monday that the promotion called Joints for Jabs, listen to this, was effective immediately and would run through July 12th. During the afforded time period, state licensed cannabis retailers are permitted to give one free pre-roll joint to customers who are 21 years or older when they receive their first or second COVID dose. And I think this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of, but I wanted to bring that to your attention. And that was on NBC news this morning. Now, it gets better. Arizona Senate President says in emails Trump called to thank for her audit. Okay, so here we go. Arizona Senate President Karen Fann discussed the so-called audit of Maricopa County ballots with former President Donald Trump, who thanked her for pursuing it. According to emails released to left-leaning government watchdog group America Oversight after a Freedom of International Act request. The emails released on Friday, many of which were written on fans' smartphones, spanned from late November to mid-May. In them, the Republicans described the post-election review as a way to ensure voters' confidence in the election process. And it goes on. But all this stuff is really interesting. And I'll tell you what, the news is getting crazier and crazier by the day. I don't even know what to say, but I'm keeping you guys informed on what's going on. So let me tell you a little bit about Colette Lafia before I bring her on. Now, she has a wonderful background. She's written several books, and she's a spiritual director. She's a retreat facilitator, and she's a writer who invites people to see themselves as a manifestation of divine love, and we need that right now. She is an active spiritual director, practiced both in person in San Francisco and around the world to Skype and FaceTime. Now, Collette enjoys designing and facilitating contemplative retreats and days of prayers. This is wonderful. She has a lot of books out. Welcome to High Road to Humanity, Collette.
Thank you. So wonderful to be here.
I'm glad you're here. What inspired you? And do you have anything to say about my news for today?
I think it's all flowing.
That's very good. Talk to me about the divine heart. I read a lot of this book, but tell the audience, you've written a lot of books. Tell the audience what inspired you to write this one.
Well, this book was really inspired by my curiosity about how I can expand and deepen love in my life. I've always felt that love is the purpose of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've been growing, I've been so curious how to experience the fullness of love. And so that was really my exploration, my interest, as well as this notion of God is love that we all grow up with and hearing.
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
does that mean? What does that
Mm-hmm.
look like? What does that feel like? What kind of relationship are we being invited into? And then, as well, I am also an artist, and I ended up making a series of drawings
Oh,
that
wow.
inspired the different qualities of love that
Yeah, you write about that in the book.
yes, I do
Tell us
write.
that. Tell us that story.
Um,
It's really interesting.
yeah, and in the back here, I also do have the little paintings. Maybe at the end we'll show them. And
Yeah.
so what happened was I was just in my studio and I just got a burst of inspiration and I tacked up 7 different pieces of paper and I just started going on inspiration and scribbling and drawing and making circles and lines and words were coming out of me. And when I looked at it, when I was done, I was like, oh, these are elements of an intimate unfolding relationship with the divine and with all things. This
Interesting.
is love. Like these are the qualities of love. And so then I just started exploring them in more depth over time.
Can I say the 7? Can I read them?
Yes, I'd love that.
Okay. So the 7, I wrote them down, are receptivity, correct?
Yes.
Delight, expansiveness, acceptance. That's a big one. Vulnerability, mystery. That's interesting. And gratitude, of course.
So in some ways, I have this rose here and you can see I have roses.
Yeah.
Those are somewhat all the petals of love.
Okay.
Together, they allow love to bloom in our hearts and in our lives, in our
Mhm.
relationship with the divine heart, as well as in our relationship with everyone and everything. And so if you look at love having a capacity and to be conscious of how do we grow in love, then these qualities can help you tap into that.
Okay. That makes a whole lot of sense. Well, this is a time where people really need to connect with God, the divine, a higher power. I don't care what you call it. It's a higher vibration. It is our creator. And I know personally that since I've connected with the divine every day, I'm a whole different person because I look at things differently. And you get messages. I mean, you don't have to sit there and meditate. I just want to say this to people. I'm so glad you're here because I love talking about God. It's my favorite thing to talk about because I'm a changed person in the last, oh, I would say 10 years. And a lot of this comes with age. I want to say that too. Do you agree that once you connect when you get older, because you hear it when you're younger, but you don't really do it until you get older. Talk about that. What do you think?
Well, that's such an interesting question because
Yeah.
in my book, I talk about this notion of awakening. And if
Hmm.
we start to reflect, we will start to see that there were components of this that were happening when we were very small. So, for example, I talk about a time when I was outside throwing around a rubber ball in my backyard, and I look up and there was a seagull. And
Hmm.
something in me said, oh, I'm connected to something bigger than myself. I'm in something bigger. Just looking up at the sky and seeing the bird. Then I talk about later in my 20s when I was actually on a city bus and
Right.
I was looking out at everybody on the bus and I
Right.
got that, what you're talking about, that vibrational sense that we're
Yeah.
in a oneness together, whatever that means. And so if
Hmm.
we start to trace our history, we'll actually start to see there were little moments of this spark happening along the way. And I think sometimes then we bang into some pain when we
Hmm.
get to a certain age, and that can really open up the channel.
Or I can
Look,
close it down regardless. It's up to
yes,
the person.
regardless, those are turning
Yeah,
points. That's
yeah,
such a good point. We
yeah,
reach different, you're right, we reach different crossroads, different turning points.
right.
And whether we open and surrender
Hmm.
and allow the more of love to enter us, or we close down in
Hmm.
fear and
Hmm.
constriction. And that I think what you said is so astute. Like now is an interesting time.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
we open up with the power of love and possibility and hope, or do we close down with anxiety, constriction, and fear?
I don't think we have a choice. I think we have to wake up and we have to connect with the divine, or we're in trouble. We're in really big trouble. And that's what I see. And there's such a divide. It's good versus evil at this point. That's what I see. I hate to see it, but I do see it. And so it's really interesting because it's like a real straight divide. I mean, either you're connected to God and you're doing really great and you're feeling wonderful about life, because I do, and I'm excited to be alive and I'm excited about this time because people are waking up and things are changing. And I'm excited to be here. But then on the flip side, you watch the news and you see the horrible things that are happening in the world, the Christians being persecuted and people being assaulted, and it just goes on and on and on. And I just would like for people to see each other as souls.
Yes, yes. I think that's what you're talking about, the essence. The
Mm-hmm.
how can we see the essence of each other? First
Right.
of all, we have to see it in ourselves.
Right.
We have to awaken to who we are. I talk about in my book, I do use um, the Christian mystical lineage to kind of inform different things that I'm exploring in the book. And one of
Mm-hmm.
the things that I say is Thomas Merton saying that love is my identity. That's a very interesting notion.
Mm-hmm.
Love is my identity. So if it is my identity, then it is your identity. And it is actually a shared identity.
But see,
So
we've
can we
never looked at things like that. I mean,
no, never did, and
no.
I was so conditioned to see myself as my achievements or my
Right.
roles or my
Right.
identities. And so therefore I was in a competitive relationship to life.
Yes.
I
I
was like,
agree with
after
you.
a while, that became very draining and very painful.
And very unfulfilling.
Absolutely unfulfilling. It separates you from life.
Right. Hey, we got a good
Whereas
commercial
love,
break. I got to stop you a second. We've got over a little bit. Hey, you guys, I'm here today with Colette Lafia. We're having a great conversation about God. And this is Nancy Earl. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Earl. This is High Road to Humanity. We're talking about the divine heart, 7 ways to live in God's love. Colette Lafia is here today, and it's so nice to meet you, Colette, and talk to somebody about this because I don't know, you write in your book, we're all on our path. We're all at different points of development. And that's what I've come to realize more than anything is that, and this is why you don't judge somebody else, because we're all kind of figuring this out on our own. What do you see about this? Because that's what I see.
well, I really agree with you. And I think that's where this notion of respect,
Mhm,
I went to the Living School, which was a program through the Center for Action and Contemplation. The reason I bring that up is one of the teachers was Richard Rohr, who is a very renowned Christian teacher.
okay.
And one of the things he said is respect means to look again at. And so, can we bring this respect to other people,
Mhm,
respecting where they are, exactly like you said, in
mhm.
terms of their development and their growth? And
Oh,
as a
yeah.
spiritual director, I really, really have come to see that and come to also respect different ways that people access the divine.
Mhm.
And
And-
by honoring that,
mhm,
we grow that versus it's not like mine. So it's I judge it.
mhm. Well, yeah, we're really judgy. And didn't you study with somebody here in New Mexico? Because I'm in Albuquerque.
Yeah, so the Center for Action and Contemplation is in New Mexico.
That's what I
And
thought.
so that's Richard Rohr Center is there.
I
And
didn't
so,
know that.
yeah, you might want to check it out.
I'll
Yeah.
have to check it out. I read that
Yeah.
in your book,
Center
and
for Action and Contemplation. That's what it's called. And it's
that's
there.
really awesome.
It's there in New Mexico. So we would come together at a
Awesome.
conference center there and study.
Nice, nice. Well, through all of your, events and things that, because I know you do a lot of workshops and things, what do you see happening right now with humanity? What do you see a lot of growth? Do you see more people coming to looking for the answers and finding them within themselves instead of outside of themselves? Do you see that now?
I do. And I think it's been an interesting pause year for
Mm-hmm.
people,
Mm-hmm.
not to, even though many people engaged with their churches and things like that online, it was also a time for people to come in and an interior time. And what I think the best thing happened is so many people that I was meeting and working with were really reclaiming the divine within.
Mm-hmm.
It weren't working so much from the outside in, but
Right.
it gave them a chance to turn and work from the inside out.
Which
And
is
I
where the treasure lies.
yes, exactly. You know, we are born
Mhm.
with this divine heart. This is where we've come from. The source of love, infinite love, has been poured out and manifesting all beings, all things. And so it's innate, it's intuitive. And the mystics teach us that. They
Mhm.
awaken us to trust in your own experience,
Right.
trust in this divine heart that is already here and knows you and you know it. So tap into it. So
Nice.
I've actually appreciated that. I find myself it was a good time for me to take a break from church and decide to come back to it in a fresh way, in a new
Mhm.
way.
Mhm.
And I do find I am drawn to return,
Right.
and yet I have such a deeper sense about my
Of
own.
devotion? Of
Yeah,
devotion? I picked up
yeah,
devotion. I'm an intuitive, so I'm sorry. I
yeah,
picked that up from you.
yes,
That you're
lovely.
more that you're more devoted. I'm
Yeah.
more devoted too, and I want to say to people, it's wonderful to go to church, and I like going to church because I think it's good because the more people that are together in a group to pray and to worship God, it's a more powerful vibration, and so it's wonderful. But if you can't, it is nice to connect at home with the divine, and when you do, you get messages, and when you listen and quiet your mind and you ask a question, and I always ask, God, what do you want me to know today?
Mm.
And I want to talk a little bit about that too, because somebody told me, oh gosh, probably about a year or so ago, somebody that was on my show. A lot of us look at God or the divine or a higher power and are afraid or don't or have this like weird relationship. And somebody said, God's your friend. And it was really weird because it hit home with me. And then I started to be friends with God. I know it may sound strange, but God and I are friends. And
Yes.
so we chit chat and I'm like, hey, what about this? What about that? And I journal, like you talk about journaling in your book, which is really important. But I want you to talk about that because it's cool. You can have a really good relationship with God.
Well, what's so interesting is that that is what the mystics are talking about.
Yeah.
So we are in good company. It's not
Yes.
really strange. It's the 12th century, the 11th century, the 16th century. I mean, Saint Teresa of Avila says, you will have no better friend and companion than God.
It's true.
And so they're really inviting you into intimacy. Originally, my book was titled Unfolding Intimacy because it was really about the depth of this
Mhm.
relationship. And what I really appreciate in what you just brought out, Nancy, is the awakening that we are in a divine love relationship.
Yep.
So you're talking about relationship. And I
Mhm.
think if people look at God as relationship,
Yes.
that is
Yes.
such a big shift.
Yes.
Not like a belief structure,
Right.
something like from top down that we believe, but if we look at it more in a circular sense, that we are in a relationship of the flow of love, and that is deeply intimately what we are. So I love that you do that. I mean, I do fun things, not fun, but intimate things like that. Like there was a time I wrote a lot of letters between me and God.
Yeah.
My
See?
journal. And
Yeah.
and it was so helpful for me.
Well, yeah,
Or
and I write them every day. I'm like, dear God, and I'll tell him, well, the lady at the post office was nice, and the guy at the grocery store was a jerk, and and I release all that, because you get all that built up, stuff, and you say, hey, God, and what about this? And I
yes.
always ask, and I want to just say this, you guys, and I want to tell the audience, you have to ask.
Mm.
If you don't ask, you don't get. And God is there, and He knows. All you have to do is ask him for different things. People, I think, sometimes don't realize that we need to communicate and tell God what we really want. Like God knows what we want in our hearts because he's in all of us. And there's a little bit of God in all of us, but we do have to ask. What do you know about that? What do you think?
I think that that is in my principle of receptivity,
Mm-hmm.
is really being open
Mm-hmm.
in that way, as that you're saying, being receptive being open, let it flow through you, let it come to you, let it reveal itself to you. Because sometimes what's interesting, you might ask, and the answer is a very curious one. It might not be what you expected.
Right.
And there's a mystery in that, and there's an openness in that, and there's an acceptance in that. But again, what I really appreciate what you're saying is fundamentally, it's a quality of trust too, though, that
Oh,
you're
yeah.
that you're yes.
Once you have faith, and I just want to say, yeah, you have to have faith first. So it's faith is believing in what you can't see. Now, I've had faith in God, and He's done amazing miracles for me, and it just grew my faith.
Mm.
Because once you have faith, and you really do, and I'm talking about undying faith, and then you see what happens, then it just makes you more faithful, because
Yeah.
then you realize you're in the flow. Then you're like, oh, that's how this works. If I have faith, then things occur. And because it's the energy, I believe it's the energy that the universe picks up when you're faithful. What do you think about that?
Well, I love that idea, and I like that idea about faith being something active and not stagnant. I
Right.
think that's another trap we get into. You
Hmm.
know, it's like this is what it is, but I think the way you're describing it, it's active, it's dynamic, it keeps opening and
Yeah.
growing through this connection that you are really nurturing in the way that
Because
you're describing.
you can have faith, and then something really bad happens, and then you think, well, wait a minute, but then you remember, hey, I had faith last time, and if I do it again, it'll work. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And it's interesting because I wrote this book about surrender. And so,
Okay.
how does one kind of meet those edges when things don't work out or
Right.
so
Right.
again, so I like that you said it's a growing faith
Mhm.
and it's willing to evolve
Mhm.
as I encounter my life and situations. I think everything that you're pointing to really shows allowing the energy and relationship of God to be living, to be
Mhm.
active. I think so often we
Yes.
don't see that love and God is a verb, is active, it's a
Mhm.
becoming, it's an engagement. And
Mhm.
to me, that's what allows all the discovery. For me, that excites me and it
Mhm.
excites me and makes it curious and makes it unfolding and in
Right.
some sense boundless, like just like so much possibility in it.
Yeah. Hey, we'll talk more when we come back from commercial break. Hey, you guys, I'm here today with Colette Lafia. Her book is called The Divine Heart. If you're watching me on YouTube, I'm holding it up. This is Nancy. You're out. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Hey, this is Nancy. You're out, and this is High Road to Humanity. I'm so glad you came on today, Colette. It's nice to talk to somebody about this kind of stuff. I want to bring up one thing as you were talking. I was thinking, I've had a lot of things happen in my life, and I look at things differently. I used to think, why did that happen to me? But now I think, where was the blessing? What was I supposed to learn? Because God's not doing, like, we're not down here to be punished by any means. We're down here to live joyfully and to make choices. And as we make these choices, I think, we realize what happens with different choices, right? But then in every choice, we learn something, and it's a blessing. It's not a curse. That's what I've learned. That's what I think.
Yeah. I really, again, appreciate that you bring up the consciousness, the growing consciousness that happens over time.
Oh, yeah,
And we can make choices that we make. And that I do like this notion of God as we're co creating with God,
we are.
co-creating our life and um, in some ways the teaching to keep letting go, to letting go of
I
your own
know. Yeah.
agenda. I know this is like the big challenge.
Yeah.
But again, I think releasing that and releasing it into the wholeness of God, where one can trust in the power and presence of love regardless.
Hmm.
And if one sees one life as really just a connection to this divine source of love, then everything can be used. Everything, as
Mhm.
painful as it may be,
Well, and
everything can
things
find its
fall into place. Things fall into
yes.
place when you think that way. I'm really glad that you came today, and I'm really glad that you wrote this. I want to also say in the book, you guys, she has different meditations and prayers. So this is a book that can be just picked up, and you can just leaf through it. I just want to say that, and you can read a little portion of it and get your little bit of fulfillment with
Yeah,
it.
I'm glad you said that because I
Yeah,
really designed it from the perspective of a spiritual director. I
right.
really did and also as with my background as in teaching. So I
Hmm.
really designed it in many ways to be very friendly to
Yes.
interact with. And so I know some people have read it all the way through and then go back into a chapter and then go a little deeper into that and engage in the practices, which
Hmm.
are very, very simple. You can do them in the moment and then you can even do them throughout the day, the week, and perhaps they become part of your spiritual practices over time.
Right,
I
she calls
do,
them prayers and practices, you
yeah,
guys, so you kinda know. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And I like what you were saying is to have a daily engagement, some type of a daily practice, whatever it is, journal writing, breathing, more devotional with specific prayers,
Mhm.
because to nurture this relationship with the divine is really a daily encounter.
It is, it's not something you can just do on Sundays.
No, it isn't. I mean, you
Yeah, I know, and that's what always cracks me up, these people I'm sorry, I was just gonna throw this out there. People show up at church on Sunday and think that's it. It's not. You have to live this every single day. You have to
yes,
be
I love
nice.
that you said that.
It's true. I mean, that's what I've learned. Every day, I get up and I say a prayer. I'll just tell you what I do. And then I do my meditation and then I connect to Mother Earth and I connect to the divine and all of that. And then I ask what I need. And I journal because I get everything out. But and I do some affirmations because I'm really big into affirmations, you guys, because it's the power of the spoken word. But bottom line is I do connect. I connect with the divine every day. And I talk to him and I tell him what I think and I ask him to guide me. And you have to ask for guidance. I guess that's what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
Lord, guide me through the day or through the difficulties. If I have to make a difficult phone call, I'll say a prayer, you know, God, let this go well, for everybody involved. Do you do that kind of stuff? Because I do that kind of
Well,
stuff.
what I do is I find ways to stay connected and aligned.
Tell me what you do.
So for myself, I do have a daily what they call centering prayer practice. This
Okay.
is a Christian meditation practice
Hmm.
that many people are engaged in and doing. So I do commit to that. I
Hmm.
also do perhaps read a psalm. Like I like
Okay.
to do that to feed that. I do love the tradition of the psalms because they have so much emotion in them. I'll pick up
Nice.
a psalm and just be like, Lord, I'm crying out. And it'll remind me that I can bring my full self to God. I don't have to be some posture of a spiritual person
Mhm.
to be in this relationship. I can be vulnerable. That's why I brought these qualities in. I
Mhm.
need to be vulnerable with God.
You need to be yourself.
Yes, I need to be myself. And
Be who you are.
yes, that's it, girl, right there. Be who you
Yeah.
are because this is what, I love. Again, I write this in the book. It's like God already knows who you are.
Hmm.
So show up as that.
Hmm.
Allow yourself to come as that. Come
Right.
as you are. We always say that in spiritual direction. Come as you are.
Hmm.
There's no agenda here but love.
Right.
You just
Right.
show up, come. So I do that. And then throughout the day, I really do practice just breathing, stopping. Like if I find a lot of fluttering in my mind,
Hmm.
I'll just take a few breaths, I'll stop, I'll just reconnect. Sometimes I like to use my hands because
Hmm.
I like the gesture, maybe put my hand on my heart, feel my
Right.
feet on the ground.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'll even make this gesture like this, which is like I'm in alignment.
Right.
And then at the end of my day, I have really enjoyed keeping a gratitude journal where I'll
Nice.
write some gratitudes to just fill that in my day.
Right.
So those are some simple things that I use throughout the day.
Right. And I do the gratitude thing. And you guys, it's really important that you do the gratitude thing because it's not like you had to get something new. Thank God for your house. Thank God for your health. Thank the Lord for just being alive today and being able. See, we don't give enough credit to the Lord to just be here on earth right now and be able to experience. We are so blessed. They're talking about all the galactics and the aliens coming in and all this kind of stuff going on. And I've had different people on my show. But all in all, we're just lucky to be here on this planet, able to experience, because that's why we're here. And if we could get into that mode, you know what I mean? It's not
Oh,
what you have, it's not how much money you have, it's not what kind of car you drive. The fulfillment and joy comes from within. And if we can just get to that point, you talk about, and I want to bring this up, you talk about love your neighbors as thyself in the book, and you also, which is in the Bible, and you also talk about love thyself, or I wrote down love thyself, because I think people forget to love themselves.
yeah. Again, I think what we're talking about is you need to nurture these qualities of love within yourself so that you can share them and be a
Right.
part of them with others. So, two
Hmm.
things. I love that you said what you said about gratitude, because one of the things I think is so key is to see life as a gift
It
and
is.
see all that are constantly receiving as a gift.
Yeah.
The water we're drinking, what a gift, right? The air
Mhm.
that we're breathing, what a
Oh, I
gift.
know. We take
Our
it all for
heart,
granted. We do.
yeah, and I think that's what you're really trying to
True.
remind
Yes.
people to awaken, that
Yes.
we are actually living in a gift.
We are.
Every day we are
Mhm.
living gift.
Right.
And
And it's a choice. It's a
yeah,
choice. You can either realize it's a gift
yeah,
or not.
or take it for granted.
Yeah.
And then yeah, but I think just seeing things as a gift, and your very life, your very heart beating as a gift. Again,
Hmm.
those are all qualities of becoming receptive. And I do think that we need to become grateful receivers of love, not taking love and the energy of love as for granted.
Hmm.
And I think what you said is becoming conscious. Consciousness allows us to make choices. So, am I conscious that this great love is living in me, breathing in me, that has created me and created all things? Am I conscious of that? Am I receptive of that?
Hmm.
Am I allowing the mystery of life and being alive?
Yeah, talk about the mystery a little bit.
Well, I really love the mystery, and I think I got more into it through the living school and through studying the contemplative way of living,
Okay.
because I think mystery allows us to see the depth and the breadth, and allowing us to be in the unknown, because
Sometimes it's scary,
it's scary. And I think this is the edge. We
right?
want to know, we want to control, we want to feel safe. These are basic human needs, of
Hmm.
course. So
Right.
I think if we ground ourselves in God's love, that creates a lot of safety for
It
us.
does. It
It
does.
does. So that we can, grounded in that, expand. But we must be grounded and anchored in this heart of love to
Right.
allow it to expand and see that, everybody's a mystery. I started to see, if I saw my husband as a mystery after 30 years, that changes the whole way I look at him. I don't
Hmm.
look at him like, know that. Oh, yeah. I look at him as like, I'm discovering him every day. I'm discovering our love together every day. Love
Hmm.
is a mystery because there's always more. That's the great thing. It is really, there's always more. And our hearts have an endless capacity to grow in love. So that is the mystery. If we allow things to be, what's the surprise? What's the
Uh-huh.
unknown? Wow, what are we really in? Allowing God to be as vast as God and this love really is,
Hmm.
live in that awareness, I think is a very expansive place.
Well, I think that's great. I wanted to bring up really quickly when you were talking about that before we go to commercial break here. I wanted to say, when you're connected to God and you start to see all these different things, you're not afraid to die. And when you're not afraid to die, then you live differently. So and we'll talk about that when we come back. Hey guys, I'm here today with Colette Lafia. Her book is called The Divine Heart. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and I'm joined today by Colette Lafia. Colette, I'm so glad you came on today. Yeah, I want to talk about death a little bit. People, I can remember when I was a little kid. I'll just tell you this. And my grandma looked so old to me. Oh my God, I didn't die. I used to think that. And now it's like, I'm not afraid anymore. Once you're really connected, and I just want to talk about that a minute because a lot of people are afraid.
Yes.
Yeah. Talk about that, would you?
Yeah. I think the more we can awaken to who we really are, that
Mhm.
can release a lot of the tension that gets built up about that. Because as James Finley, who was also one of my teachers in the living school, we're living our life in a race to get everything done before
I
the bell
know.
goes off.
I know.
So, and we can catch ourselves. I mean, myself too, I'll be honest in that.
Mhm.
But if we can get another sense of who we are and what we are, if we can see what we are, that we are a creation of this love that never dies, that we are part of the infinite flow of love. That's
Mhm.
a very different sense of who we are, of who
Right.
I am, of what I am. And I think as we allow that to awaken, it can take some of the edges off of that fear.
I think it does. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people I don't believe. And it's hard for me, and I know it's probably hard for you because I've run across people in my family who don't believe. And I grew up, my father was taught Sunday school and we were, always went to church. But I don't know. It always amazes me that people are so, I don't know, here earthly connected to the earth that they don't believe and they don't realize. And I know you can't make people believe, but I guess um, maybe we can lead by example, and maybe they'll see is the only way I know to change people. What do you think about that?
Yes, I do. I really, really do. I think it's just live it. Just live it. And that's why living these qualities of love are a way of showing that, a way
Yeah,
of being in that. We
right.
participate in this dance of life, this dance of love. So
Hmm.
how you show up is is the most important thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So since you've written the book, I mean, have you gotten letters or messages or, talk to us? Have you heard different good
Yes, I do.
reports or
It's been very touching. The book's just been out for a month, but the
okay.
few workshops that I've done around it, there's been some beautiful moments of tears. And I think it's because in some ways we all hear about love, but my book invites people to learn more about what are the qualities of love. Believe it or not, people don't really know how to touch the depth of love, to live in the depth of love, to touch the capacity of love. And so my book really invites people to explore that with these qualities. Oh, delight. Delight can awaken me to more energy of love. The
Mm-hmm,
Lord delights in his people. To see yourself as God's delight
mm-hmm,
is like a completely different way of seeing yourself. Uh, uh,
mm-hmm.
to allow yourself to be vulnerable and see vulnerability as an essential quality of connecting to the divine, it makes vulnerability a good thing.
Right, not a negative.
Yeah, not a negative,
Mm-hmm.
acceptance. A lot of people of us, oh, I don't want to accept that, but if we allow or accept myself, but if we allow ourselves to awaken to the gift that we are and that each one of us is born as a special rose or a
We
special
are.
yeah, we
Yes.
are, right? To
Yeah.
and so rather than acceptance being a negative, to be actually embracing who we were born to be.
Well,
So
yeah, because
I
God loves us unconditionally for who we are, just as
yes.
we are. We
Yes.
don't have to change. We have to
Yes. And I
keep
think
who
like
we are.
the freedom of that
Yeah.
is can be almost too much for people. But so I would say finding people finding themselves more deeply inside of love,
Mhm.
especially, we were raised, God is love, we are love, but how do you really live this? And
Right.
so my book is a wonderful way of just teaching it in really basic principles, and it awakens people to so much love. People have been so touched, like in some ways it seems so simple, and yet it really reaches the depth of the Christian, Judeo-Christian, Islamic message.
Right, right.
Yeah.
No, I'm really glad that it's a good time to bring this out. People are awakening and we need to talk about it more, and because people haven't been in churches, I mean, have you done more workshops now on Zoom or give us a little information? How do people take your workshops, Colette? How
Yeah,
do they get in
so
touch with you?
that has been actually a wonderful thing,
Isn't
and
that funny?
it really has been. I've had people from Ireland and
I
England
love it. You're
and
reaching the world.
yeah,
Yeah.
and what's nice about it too, it's not
Yeah.
just me reaching the world, it's people being together and seeing,
Yeah.
oh, they're also seekers and searchers of God's love. They're also, so it's not, they're seeing this
It's a global
love.
thing. It's a
Yes,
global thing. Yeah.
yes. And I love that people
Yeah.
are awakening to that, you
It's
know.
funny you would say that. I've had, and I want to bring this up, for High Road to Humanity has grown, and I have people from all over the world who watch now, and it's
Yeah.
really exciting for me to see that. Yet the same thing, that everybody is coming to God, and it's
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes,
It's
isn't it
nice.
wonderful? There's an
Yeah.
interconnectedness, and
Yeah.
love is such a core, basic human desire that
Hmm.
to connect around the energy of love really creates like a unified field that we can all enter into together.
Right.
So just to say that people can find out about me through my website where I do list all my events.
What's your website, Colette?
It is ColetteLafia.com. So,
Okay. And
yeah.
so it's ColetteLafia, you guys.com.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. When's your next workshop?
So I'm doing an event in few weeks, June 25th. I will
Okay.
one. So I invite everybody to come check it out, and I have others that are coming up as well.
Cool. All right. So you have a calendar. If they go to your
I
website,
have
they
a
can check it
calendar
out.
of events. That,
Okay.
yeah.
And she has
Yes.
lots of other books too. You've been an author. You've written quite a few books.
Yeah. So my first book was Comfort and Joy: Simple
Yeah,
Ways to Care for Ourselves and Others. Then my other book, like I said, is this one on seeking surrender,
I
and
saw
now
that.
this one on the divine heart, the
Yes.
exploration of love.
I love it. I love it. Fantastic. What else we've got a few more minutes today. What else would you like to leave us with that would really help people? Is there a prayer or is there a meditation, or what can you offer maybe that we could, to the audience, something that maybe you do in your workshops that would help us?
Something very, very simple
Okay.
is I invite people, we could just begin, first of all. We've been talking a lot, just
Yeah.
inviting a moment of just of breath awareness, breathing in and out, and taking a moment and placing your hands over your heart.
Right.
Placing your hand over your heart and allowing yourself to feel the flow of love coming towards you. Feeling this flow of love, this infinite flow of love that's pouring into you and creating you as your very being every minute, in every breath and heartbeat. So breathe in that love that you are, and then breathe it out, knowing that you're sharing that love. And just through the sheer breath of in and out, you are connected to the flow of love moving in you, through you, and as you, in every breath and heartbeat. Breathing in this great love and breathing out this great love. You belong to love, and we belong to each other in the power and presence of love. Breathing in this great love and breathing out this great love. And this is something very simple that people could just do throughout the day, where you just,
Thank you. I needed that.
yeah, yes, you see it.
Actually, thank you.
Yes, I'm so glad. Yes.
We all have our days. We all have our moments. It's
Yeah.
nice. It's nice to have somebody else. It's just calming,
Yes.
calming.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm really glad you came today. Thank you for
Thank
visiting
you.
us. I hope you'll come back and you guys check out her workshops. And if you guys want a psychic reading, go to my website. I am an intuitive. I do have a clear knowing of things, and you can book right there. Thank you so much for coming on, Colette. I really
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Nancy. Thank you for your delight and your trust in inviting me.
Oh, God bless. God bless.
To
It's
you,
been
my
It's
friend.
been a really great conversation. So
It
thank you.
has been very energizing.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes, cool.
beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hey, you guys, get out there and say a prayer and spread some love, okay? This is Nancy. You're out. This is High Road to Humanity. Don't forget the book, The Divine Heart. We will see you guys next time. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.
Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road.
Hey, you guys, join me next week on The High Road for more stories filled with wisdom, love, and hope for our future. Have a fabulous week and know that by staying on the high road, you will make it to your destination. Visit my website, nancyyearout.com, where you can book a private session to learn how to tap into your own abilities. And check out my YouTube channel. It's Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity.
You can achieve your goal.